Now, pretty soon as a guitarist, you're going to be on a gig and somebody will throw a jazz standard at you, think, oh, can we do Fly Me to the Moon or All of Me or something? Now, the chords for jazz standards on guitar and piano are rather different from sort of rock and pop. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through Fly Me to the Moon on guitar with the chords and the shapes, and then we can have a look at how all of that works together. Let's have a look. So jazz standards are designed, well, they are vocal tunes, so they're actually quite simple in terms of the melody, but the chords and everything else that underpins it is rather different. So we're in the key of A minor. Well, actually it starts in A minor, the tune is in C, so the final chord is C major. So the first chord is A minor 7. What I've done is I've put the chords down below in terms of 6th string all the way to 1st string. And if there are any strings that are not used, you just see an X there, which means don't play. So A minor 7, D minor 7, G13, C major 7, F major 7, B half diminished or B minor 7 with the flattened 5th, E7, and A minor 7. And then the other chords in the tune are actually, you know, you've seen them before. So it goes A minor, D minor 7, G13, C major 7, F major 7, B half diminished, E7, A minor 7. And then the second half, D minor 7, G13, C major 7, A minor 7, D minor 7, G13, C major 7, and then B half diminished at E7. That's half the jazz standard, and then the rest of it is kind of the same again. Fly me to the moon, let me play among the stars, let me see what spring is like on Jupiter and Mars. In other words, please be true. In other words, I love you. So we also had E half diminished. Now all of these chords, they're just reused, and you will see these across many, many jazz standards. So once you've learnt this tune, actually a lot of it makes sense for many other jazz standards. The icing on the cake is if you were also to play the tune at the same time as the chords. So A minor 7, for example, you could actually play the tune using your last finger. And then a couple of diminished chords in there, which are always nice chords to go between just before a minor chord. Now, for those of you interested in the guitar, I've got this Line 6 modelling guitar, and I'm actually using the Gibson 400 setting, which is fantastic, a big old earthy sort of wooden guitar from the 1940s. So we've got A minor 7, D minor 7, G13, C major 7, F major 7, B half diminished, E7, and A minor 7. Now E7 you could either do as this, or you could do this, which is a little bit of a darker version. It's a bit lower inversion, a lower voicing. And you can actually change notes within the chords as well. There's your A minor 7. Then we had a diminished chord, which is kind of cool because it repeats itself every 3 frets. So C sharp diminished is the same as E diminished, which is the same as G diminished, and then B flat diminished. And then you've got your minor chord. We've got another one there as well, a 7 augmented chord, which repeats itself every 4 frets. So E7 with a sharpened 5th it actually repeats itself. So the theory goes that it's stuff full of what are called 2-5-1s. So for example, the 2-5-1 in the key of G goes A minor, D minor and G. So you have basically got chord 2, chord 5 and chord 1. This is quite a familiar term in terms of the sort of the jazz language, this whole idea of 2-5-1, which is chord 2 and then the dominant chord and then the root chord. There's another one there. And another one there. Now the tune is actually really simple on guitar. And then you're into your solos, which could be, well, it's A minor. Etc. It's all based on that sort of A minor scale, which is, it could be a harmonic minor, or it could be a Dorian mode, or a melodic minor. So, for example, there's your harmonic minor in A, or Dorian on A, or we could have the melodic minor, which is different going up to coming down. So you have two different minor scales in the same, well, in the same form, really, going up and coming down. So once you've done Fly Me to the Moon, that's in the key of C. We have things like All of Me, which is a classic, another classic jazz standard. All of me, why not take all of me? Can't you see I can't live without you? Take my arms, I'll never use them. Take my lips, I'll never lose them. Your goodbye, wet with eyes that cry. How can I get along without you? You took the part that once was my heart, so why not take all of me? So we got C to E7 to A7 to D minor 7, E7, A minor 7, D9, D minor 9, G13, flat 13 there. So you can get all these different flavours and these different notes within the chords that make the chords all link together. And depending on what you're doing, you may be backing a singer. As a guitarist, you might have to start playing some sort of walking bass lines along with your chords, or basically vamping. So there's a bit of moving about to do. But there is a little demonstration of a jazz standard. So that was Fly Me to the Moon, and I also played All of Me there.